The following program will make you want to grow things and experience new and wonderful dreams about your plants, garden, and garden design. Listener participation is always strongly advised. Good evening and welcome to Down the Garden Path with your hosts Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board, send us an email right now. Our email address is instudio101@gmail.com. And now, right to your hosts of Down the Garden Path, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing.
Thank you, Gary, and welcome everyone to Down the Garden Path, where each week we discuss down-to-earth tips and advice for your plants, gardens, and landscapes. As landscape designers and gardeners, we think it is possible, not impossible. It is possible and very important to have great gardens that are low maintenance, and we want to help you make it happen. I'm Joanne Shaw, landscape designer and owner of Down to Earth Landscape Design for the past 11 years. It is currently a design-only business here east of Toronto in Durham region. With me is my co-host Matthew Dressing. Welcome, Matthew.
Welcome, Joanne. Good evening, everyone. I'm Matthew Dressing, horticulturist and landscape designer, and owner of Natural Affinity Designs. Natural Affinity is a landscape design garden maintenance firm servicing Toronto and the Eastern GTA. Joanne and I enjoy doing Down the Garden Path each week, bringing you interesting, relevant, and helpful topics to help you achieve a great garden. We learn right along with you, from each other, from our research, and from the guests that join us here on the show. We welcome your questions, as always, via social media or emails.
That's right. And we want to thank you always for joining us here on Monday evenings for Down the Garden Path. And remember to subscribe to Down the Garden Path podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you miss us, or if you're not able to stay for the whole time on the show, the live show, you can get instant updates when our new shows go live. So just search for us on your favorite podcast app.
That's right.
That's right. Hello.
So this evening.
Yes. We're at last show of January.
The last show of January, as you know, we've kind of themed the months, and this is kind of our What's New 2020, what's happening.
That's
month.
right.
And so we are bringing you in the final day of January.
Final show of January.
Final show of January. Natalie Carmolli from Proven Winners and Spring Meadow Nursery.
That's right.
And we're going to go over the 2020 new shrub introductions with Natalie.
That's right. And you know I'm a shrub girl.
Hey, we do.
I love it.
So you're primed and excited.
I am primed and excited to see what other plants I can start designing with.
That's right.
So a little bit about Natalie. So Natalie is rooted in horticulture. I like that little pun. When she was 6 years old, her family moved to a farmhouse on 40 acres in mid-Michigan. The house was unique in that it had a full-size glass greenhouse in the side yard. Oh, my goodness. So, of course, her mother started seasonal business selling spring bedding plants, which quickly turned into a full-service flower shop. Natalie grew up working in that shop, learning floral design and customer service. skills she'd take with her to college, where she continued working in the floral industry as she earned her degree in performing and fine arts. So how does one combine a fine art and theater degree with a lifetime immersed in horticulture? As a public relations specialist for Spring Meadow Nurseries, of course, Natalie has taken the communication skills she's learned in the theater and uses them to help her to express clearly and confidently when talking about one of her favorite subjects, the art of gardening, using Proven Winners ColorChoice flowering shrubs. Exciting. Welcome to the show, Natalie.
Thank you.
What a great way to grow.
Be here.
Oh, good. I'm glad. And what a fascinating thing to have your parents buy a house that had a glass greenhouse attached to it, eh? Looking back, you must think, wow.
I know. Well, at the time, I didn't understand what a unique thing that we had. And now if I saw a glass greenhouse, especially the size of a built-in swimming pool in the side yard of a house, I'd scrabble to buy that house in a second.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. So that is incredible. And what a great way to turn your, your background, your skills in school to incorporate something that you learned all your life with horticulture.
Yeah, I'm a lifetime gardener. My whole front yard is full of perennials and shrubs, and it is something I truly love, and it's exciting to be able to use that in my vocation.
Excellent. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about Spring Meadow Nurseries?
Sure. It's interesting because people often get a little confused when you hear about Proven Winners. There's a lot of arms that make up the Proven Winners brand. And Spring Meadow Nursery is actually my employer. That's who I work for. We grow exclusively shrub liners.
Oh, okay.
So we are licensed to grow Proven Winners ColorChoice shrub liners. And what a liner is it's just a very small shrub, usually, only 5 to 6 inches tall. We sell those to finished growers who finish them out and make them and grow them into the sizes that then you'll see at your local garden center.
Oh.
So we sell millions and millions of very small shrubs. And if you see a Proven Winner shrub anywhere in North America at any garden center in Canada, from California down to Florida, it started out at our greenhouses at Spring Meadow Nursery.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Now I'll think of you every time I see one of the white pots in my nursery.
Or in the back of our cars and, that kind of thing.
Right.
That's right. I'm going to say, so who determines, so then other nurseries buy from you, or you're just kind of for Proven Winners, you're kind of the distribution center and they tell you where to send what?
We have growers that are our customers.
Okay.
And they grow large quantities of our plants, and then they go ahead and sell them to various garden centers who are their customers.
Oh, okay.
So we have some growers, and we also have some licensees, which are basically people that are licensed to also sell these smaller plants to growers like we do.
Okay.
So we have a large network of people that grow these plants into full-size plants so that they can get to every corner of North America.
Yeah.
So, Natalie, the licensees, do they buy at what stage of the liner production do they buy those plants from you to then sell to other people?
They'll also buy them at about the same size that the growers do. So we sell 2 1/4 inch, 4 inch, and 1 quart liners. That's the big 1 quart is the largest plant that we sell. So they would still buy those sizes, but they buy much larger quantities than a finished grower would buy, and then many of their customers would also be finished growers.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. And that is fascinating. So that like you said, California too, like I know that's where we have Proven Winners from our suppliers. Matt works at a local garden center, and so it's kind of the retail end of it.
Yeah. So it's really cool to see how you go from that start to finish, because I think a lot of people just think of that finished product, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's really neat to see how
Right.
it comes down to you.
I mean, if you're talking about the whole Proven Winners brand, we grow the shrubs, and then there's a company called Walter's Gardens who have the exclusive license to grow Proven Winners perennials, and they're not far from us. They're in Zeeland, Michigan, so they're probably half an hour from Spring Meadow. And then we also have 4-Star Nursery and Pleasant View, who grow a variety, but mostly featuring the annuals.
Annuals. Excellent. Excellent. Yes, and we're hoping to have Walter's Gardens on in a few months to talk about perennials. So that's going to be
Wonderful.
exciting. Yes, yes. But we were exciting that we thought the timing, we were kind of focused on 2020. You know, we did a previous show in January on 2020 garden trends and gardening trends with Garden Media Group, and so we were excited to have Proven Winners and your choice, because I think people look forward to that. You know, really, what is new for this year? Designers do, I know. To what else can we introduce to our clients and in our own gardens? And so it's something that I was really excited about. I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, it's exciting to talk about new plants, and these are what we're going to talk about today for the most part are really brand new plants. So some people may not be able to find them in your garden center yet, but what we always say is ask for them. If you hear about a plant or you see a plant that you'd really like, ask your garden center, because they don't know that that's something that maybe they should be carrying unless people indicate an interest in them.
Yes.
Exactly. A first-hand experience. That's very true. Don't hesitate to ask about them or get new introductions to your local garden center.
Right. Yeah. And I have another friend who's also a garden designer, and a landscape designer, and she's famous for that, where she goes, you know, the wholesale nurseries that we order from, she goes, no, I don't look at those books. I don't see what they plan on having. She goes, I look for what I want to have, and then I tell them what they need to go find for me.
Absolutely.
You know,
sounds like my kind of designer.
Yeah, exactly. So she's kind of funny that way. So she loves to have the new cutting edge things, and not that I don't, but I'm a bit more of a rule follower, and I'm like, you know, and if it's not in the book, I'll call them and say, you know, I want this thing and it's not in your book. So that's always fun.
So quick question, Natalie, just before we jump into maybe all the new shrubs for 2020, kind of tying it back into the liners. So you're having these new shrubs of 2020 come out. How long have you had those 2020 shrubs at Spring Meadow growing them on, or how long have the growers or the licensees who've bought them had them growing in their garden or greenhouses and production fields?
Well, there's a couple levels of answers to that question. Before we even release a plant, we've tested it for about 10 years. So we will start a plant, and, you know, we throw away a lot of plants too in the testing period. So, you know, we're always trying to grow cultivars that solve garden problems for people. Say they love a certain kind of plant, but it's invasive. We try to, you know, breed it to be less invasive, or we try to breed a chartreuse colored leaf to be less susceptible to being burned, or we try to breed a rose that's less susceptible to black spots. So we spend a lot of time just trialing them and testing them before they even get to the point where we're growing the little liners in the greenhouse. So we test them in the greenhouses. We have field testing, and then we also test them in a practical garden atmosphere and situations. So that all happens before we start growing them in the greenhouse. And then once we do start growing them, I mean, on some level, it's a matter of the plant itself. Some plants grow a lot faster than other plants. So we can grow a dwarf buddleia a lot faster than we can grow a yew. So it just depends on how long it takes those liners to get up to size. You know, of course, a 2.5-inch liner and a 4-inch liner are going to be smaller than a quart. We call our quarts quick turns because the grower can buy them and quickly turn them into a saleable plant, into a 1-gallon plant or a 3-gallon plant. And we also divide out a lot of our plants. So when our growers get our catalog, we'll have pages in there that are an 8-week flip, so they know that if they can get a quart-sized plant, it's going to only take them 8 weeks to flip that into a 1-gallon pot. So a lot of it depends on the type of plant, but generally we will turn the whole greenhouse. You know, we have over 40 acres of greenhouses under glass, and we will turn those 40 acres several times in a season.
Wow. Okay. And when would you start shipping?
We usually start shipping in earnest around mid-April.
Okay.
That's when things start to get really, really crazy. We are a little directed by the weather.
Yes.
It depends on if we have any kind of polar vortex decides to swirl around in early March, then that's going to delay our shipping, because even though we have shrubs And even though shrubs are cold hardy and they do go dormant, they're very small shrubs, and they do have to be protected from really, really blistering cold.
Yes.
But generally, we start shipping in the early to mid-April, and then it's full blast shipping until mid to late June.
Yeah.
And we do ship all summer, but that's when it's really, really busy.
Yes. Yeah. That is great. And it's interesting that you're in Michigan, too, because I think a lot of people think, growing anything like that would be done in, I don't want to say California, but certainly like more longer seasons, right? Like a warmer climate that has a longer season, because you have a very similar climate than we do in Ontario, Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the nice thing about, what we grow is they're shrubs, and most of our shrubs are cold hardy. And they need a period of dormancy in order to, flush back out again with foliage and flowers in the spring. So actually, even though the shrubs, the ones that we do overwinter in the greenhouses, they go through a dormant period. We do keep the greenhouses at around 35 degrees in the wintertime, so they don't get super cold. But, they need our climate to be able to perform their best.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that also attributes, we can talk more about Proven Winners, but the success, I think, of the brand is, personally, I can speak for it, that I know it's been tested, and I know that it's a great option for my clients. So I think that that's wonderful, right? I think that's part of your success.
Yeah, and it's part of the gardener's success, too. And that's something that, is really, really important to us, because, everybody has a limited, amount of money that they can spend on their gardens, a limited amount of time. It takes a lot of physical effort, and to put something in the ground, you want it to perform its very best. So being able to get something that has already been tested, that you're not the person testing it in the ground in your garden to see if it's going to live or not, there's a certain amount of, I think, comfort with that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Most certainly.
Yeah, I agree too.
So just before we start to dive into all of these amazing new and exciting shrubs for 2020, maybe you're just tuning in. So we are here with Natalie Carmolli. She's with Spring Meadow Nurseries, and they grow their shrub liners for Proven Winners. So if you'd like to join the conversation, have a question for Natalie, or maybe a new 2020 shrub question, you can write us here at instudio101 at gmail.com. Speaking of which, George has just written in, very interesting show tonight. Are these new shrubs available in Canada? Thanks. So
they are. So I would have to check specifically with the growers to see, what the growers are ordering in Canada. But the shrubs that we're going to talk about tonight can be grown in Canada. So I'm not going to be talking about flowering quince or anything like that gets you all excited about a plant that we can't export to Canada. So, what we had talked about before was, ask your garden center if you don't see it, let them know so that they can ask their grower and get it in. So we're going to talk about plants you can find in Canada, but I can't make any guarantees what you're going to see in your garden center really anywhere in North America. The most important thing is we talk about them, that you get to know about them, so that you can make known what you'd like to see in your garden.
Yes. And my experience that maybe especially in the first introduction, the first year of a new plant, usually it's available in limited quantities. So it's not that it's not available, but if you ask your grower, you ask at your garden center, so it's you might see, so it's, if you see them as they're new and the garden center, you think you can come back and get them in a few more weeks or whatever, or wait for them to go on sale, that's not going to happen. So scoop them up, right? Matthew, it's not one of those things. If you see it in May, the chances are you're not going to see it in September. So, and if you want something new,
they're really unique looking for their variety.
Yes, exactly. And you may not see them at the big box stores. You may definitely need to go to, more of a professional, the nurseries and the garden centers. So
what I can suggest too is if you hear about a plant tonight that you really love and you want to be able to find it, you are welcome to send me an email at Natalie@springmeadownursery.com and just say, I live in this part of Canada. Is there any way that you can help me find a garden center that might be carrying this plant this year? And we can, we are happy to work to try to find you, somebody that's carrying a Proven Winners ColorChoice shrub that you're interested in.
Oh, that's wonderful, Natalie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So just in case you missed it, and just so I can get it correct, it was Natalie@springmeadownursery.com.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you narrow down, like of all the ones you're growing and testing over time, how do we narrow down the top 20 for 20?
Well, that is a tough question. I am not the one that narrows them down.
Oh, okay.
So I get the cream of the crop. So I get to talk about the list once it's already narrowed down.
Okay.
So part of it is, are we looking for a new variety that we're not offering yet? Like we have a new Fothergilla that I'll talk about tonight. That we don't have a lot of variety in that.
Yep.
I'm going to talk in a minute about a new Cotinus that is a different color. That's something that we've never had in our catalog before. So it sometimes it speaks to, does it look completely different than anything we've ever offered?
Okay.
But other times does it perform completely differently than anything we've ever offered?
Okay.
Whenever we try to introduce a new variety, the biggest thing is we want to make sure that it's outperforming in some way.
Okay. Excellent. Well, that is a good thing. So do you want to just jump in and start talking about them?
Sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about them in, and this is interesting because you're both landscape designers, in terms of this magazine that we have called Gardening Simplified. And I also want to put the offer out there that if anybody would like a Gardening Simplified magazine mailed to them, I would be happy to do that. Once again, we can go over my contact information at the end of the podcast, but I'd be happy to send this Gardening Simplified magazine right to your door so you can start planning your own garden. And what it does is it takes these Proven Winners ColorChoice shrubs and divides them into their landscape roles.
Oh, perfect.
So what I'm going to do is kind of go through the landscape roles and talk about what's new in each one of these roles. Now, if you got one of these magazines in your mail, you're going to see a lot more plants than what we're going to have time to talk about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about specimen plants and border plants and low hedge and edging plants and plants with fragrance. Hopefully I'll have time to talk about all of that.
Yeah, sure.
That's what this book goes through. So I'll kind of go in order of what this Gardening Simplified magazine, the way it has it set out.
Okay. That sounds great. So I do want to recognize Helga has written in a question. She's saying, with any of these new shrubs, are any a hybrid of two favorite shrubs? So Helga, I think the easiest way to answer that is kind of to hang on, right? Natalie, and kind of listen into because we're probably going to talk about a lot of different variety of shrubs. So it was a tricky question to answer there.
And I will tell, if something's like, usually it's a hybrid of another shrub. I don't have, we don't do a lot of crossing unrelated specimens together, but a lot of times they will be an improved version of something, or like let's talk about them when we get there.
Okay.
I'll remember that question and try to answer that as we go along.
Excellent. And Matt and I both have that magazine up on our phones here to kind of look at.
Wonderful. Well, for you, I will tell you the pages that I'm on then when we go along in the magazine. So are we ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's jump in.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to talk about are specimen plants. And specimen plants, we know we love to put them in our garden because they have this, because of their structure or their flower power, they make a dramatic statement. It's a single-use plant that you're going to put in the middle of your garden to draw your eye to kind of that focal point.
Right.
So it has kind of a wow factor in your landscape. And there's a lot of plants that can be specimen plants, but I'm going to talk about one today that happens to be, I'm going to call it the little sister or sibling of my favorite Proven Winners plant. My favorite Proven Winners plant is the Winecraft Black Smoke Bush. I love a smoke bush.
Oh,
and this is the brand new variety, which is a Winecraft Gold Smoke Bush. So while Winecraft Black has that deep wine-colored dark maroon foliage and the pink smoke, the pink plume, Winecraft Gold has bright-colored chartreuse leaves, but when they emerge orange, then they turn gold, and then they turn that chartreuse color.
Oh.
So you have this great leaf on this compact smoke bush that goes through this color change before it opens these with its flowers. Now, an interesting thing about smoke bush, which I'm sure both of you already know, but for the listeners, is Catinus actually has a really small, yellowish, insignificant flower. So these big poofs of smoke, what you see, are not really the flowers. It is actually, they're minute hairs along the structure of the panicle after the flowers are spent. So you are seeing it has flowered, the flowers drop off, and then you get this puffy panicle that's left over, and that's what the smoke looks like. Now, on this Winecraft Gold smoke bush, these plumes start out green, and then they age to a soft pink color. So once the plumes have completely aged, you've got this chartreuse green leaf and these pink plumes. It's a really, really beautiful Catinus. It's not huge like a lot of Catinus. Both Winecraft Gold and Winecraft Black are a smaller version. I wish I had this in the metric system. I'm kicking myself
Oh,
now.
no, it's okay.
They're 4 to 6 feet tall.
No, that's perfect. We still say that when it comes to plants, so that's okay.
Okay, good.
So that's perfect, and that's an excellent feature because sometimes you want the smoke bush, but your client doesn't have the space for something to get as big.
Yeah.
And it's because they want lower maintenance. Like I'm hack at mine to kind of keep mine under control, but that's not for everybody. So that's great news.
Yeah, a lot of the shrubs that I'm going to talk about today are actually compact versions of what would be your conventional variety. So these are great examples, being this 4 to 6 feet tall, and it makes a really, really beautiful statement piece for a specimen plant. These are hardy down to 28 degrees centigrade. So in the USDA zone, growing zone, that's 5 to 8.
Okay.
So it's a great hardy plant. And let's see if there's anything. It's a great deer-resistant plant as well. So if any of you have issues with deer munching through your garden like I do, this is a nice plant to put right in the center of it.
Wonderful.
All right. I'm going to move on. That was on page 9 of this magazine. I am going to move on to page 11, and we have a brand new hibiscus this year, and it is part of a series. It's part of our chiffon series. Our breeder, Roderick Woods, makes these beautiful, huge. These are a giant hibiscus plant. They're 8 to 12 feet tall and 4 to 6 feet. But if you have the space for this kind of specimen plant, they're absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous. They're covered with flowers. The magenta chiffon plant has this unique colored dark magenta, really ruffly full bloom. So it's a gorgeous rose of Sharon. Unlike a perennial hibiscus, it's a rose of Sharon. It's got the woody structure up underneath it, and it is covered with blooms from top to bottom in the summertime. Another nice thing about this hibiscus is it does have a low seed set. So if you live in an area where you have trouble with hibiscus reseeding, it is not a seedless variety, but it does have a low seed set, so you won't have as many volunteers to pull out of the ground under your hibiscus. It's deer resistant. It's a great hummingbird attractor. So it's just a wonderful pollinator and a beautiful, beautiful shrub.
Excellent. And these all appear to be doubles. Is that what you would call them?
Yeah, these are all the doubles, and you can see if you're looking at the magenta chiffon, it's really, really a fluffy double flower.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, there are 5 colors in the chiffon series. The magenta chiffon is the newest one. We also have a white, a pink, a lavender, and blue chiffon. And blue chiffon is our 2020 flowering shrub of the year. So we like to pull out different plants to be, this one is our, we have a flowering shrub of the year, a rose of the year, a hydrangea of the year, and this is the flowering shrub of the year. Basically what it means is our growers have said to us, these are the plants that we really think that are going to be popular in garden centers. We want to grow a lot more of these. We want to make them a lot more available to the public. And we're going to put a little more advertising behind them. And this is our flowering shrub of the year. The blue one has a really beautiful blue flower.
Okay, that's excellent. All right. What else do you have up for us?
I have another specimen plant to talk about, and this is a Pieris. Now, this is called also a lily of the valley shrub, and that's on page 20, in case you're following along.
Okay. And again, to our listeners, please send us an email, and it might even be easier, Natalie, to have us collect all the emails, and then we can forward them to you. So either way, instudio101@gmail.com, and it's a lovely magazine that has all the pictures and the information. So Pieris.
Yeah, all the growing information and great ways that you can use them. Yeah, I'd be happy to send you one. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is this lily of the valley shrub, and this has a really, really great name. We call it Interstella. And this is lily of the valley shrub is one of the first shrubs to bloom early in the spring. Now, sometimes lily of the valley shrub can have a white bloom. These have little deep pink lantern-shaped blooms. So if you know what a lily of the valley looks like, these have that same kind of habit, the way the flowers are on the shrub. So they hang down in these little strings of all these tiny little pink lanterns. They're absolutely beautiful. They emerge a deep ruby color, and then the flowers will age to pink. And once the flowers drop off, then this evergreen shrub will sprout new red foliage, and then it ages to green. So it has nice season-long color. Once again, if you are used to growing, or if you've seen some Pieris or lily of the valley shrub, and you know they've been quite large, this one's only 3 to 4 feet tall and wide.
Okay.
So once again, this is a smaller version of a lily of the valley shrub, and it's also deer resistant.
Excellent, and it is more shade tolerant.
It is, yes, and it's also a great shrub if you have something that you only get a little bit of sun in your garden.
Right, perfect. And hardiness?
This lily of the valley shrub is hardy, USDA zones 5 to 8.
Okay.
So
excellent.
All right. So we're going to move on to on the same page, a new rhododendron, and this is a gorgeous member of the Dandyman series of rhododendron. So Dandyman is a series that we grow that now has added a third color. We had Dandyman pink and Dandyman purple, and now this one they're calling Dandyman Color Wheel.
Oh.
And it's called Color Wheel because it has these flowers that start out red, they open to deep pink, and then turn bright white. So you get these beautiful little ruffly flowers that several will grow on the end of the stem, create this great little ball-shaped look of these ruffly little flowers that are white in the, light pink in the center and bright pink on the outside. What we've done with Dandyman Color Wheel is we've improved it so that it is more resistant to root rot disease. Sometimes the rhododendrons can be susceptible to root rot disease. This is more resistant to that, and it's more heat tolerant. So this is heat tolerant in USDA zones 5 to 9, and it's 4 to 8 feet tall and wide. So once again, we are talking about specimen plants.
Right.
This isn't a particularly small plant, but it is a splashy plant. Specimen plants are known for being, especially splashy because of their color, and this is definitely one of them. Has evergreen foliage, and it's just a gorgeous new addition to our rhododendron series.
Oh, that's wonderful. And typically in Zone 5, they don't get as tall, like because we always have to tell people that, those beautiful rhododendrons that you see on the Masters, yes, we can grow rhododendrons, but no, they're not going to get as big as they do in Atlanta. right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they're not just going to be able to just sit there and grow and grow and grow.
Exactly. So everybody's perception, if they notice what those are while watching the Masters in golf, yes, we can grow them, but no, they're never going to be that big.
And I've seen some pictures. We talk about invasiveness a lot when we talk about plants, and when what might be invasive in one area is not invasive at all in other areas. I know out west you can't grow a buddleia because they're invasive,
right?
But they don't reseed in Michigan at all,
right?
So I've had a regular buddleia in my yard, and I've never had it. I can barely keep it alive.
Yes, same.
So I put some low and beholds in there. They're doing great.
Yeah.
But this rhododendron, I did say it was hardy in USDA zone 5-9, so that's down to negative 28 degrees centigrade. So that's a pretty hardy shrub.
Yeah, that's great. All right, and what else do you have that's exciting? I think it's nice to have some shade options. That's been wonderful, right? The Pyrrhus and the rhododendron.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk about another rhododendron later, but I'm going to move on to border plants.
Okay.
So some people call them foundation plants because you might plant them to soften around the edges of your home foundation, or your house's foundation. But these border plants are going to be shorter than 5 feet tall, but they're going to have a natural, appealing shape. So a lot of border plants might be things like abelia or butterfly bush, or Caryopteris, otherwise known as bluebeard. Those are all great foundation plants. But the new foundation plant, and I had talked about this a little bit earlier, that I'm going to talk about, and this is one that is going to be a little bit harder to find. So if you see one at your garden center, grab it.
Okay.
It's called Legend of the Fall Fothergilla.
Ooh.
So this is a bottle brush plant. It's on page 29 of Gardening Simplified. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous colored plant. The foliage on this plant is so vivid. It has red, orange, and yellow fall color that will knock your eyes out. It's a gorgeous native plant. It's a landscape-friendly size, again, only 4 to 5 feet tall and wide, because now we're talking about border plants, and we want them to be under that 5 foot tall range. It's got similar hardiness to the rhododendron, USDA zone 5 to 9, but it has fragrant white spring flowers. It's shade tolerant. It's deer resistant. It's just a really, really beautiful border plant. If you can get your hands on one, I would say grab it.
Yeah, we're looking at the pictures now, and the color is absolutely stunning. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yes. And so it is, so Fothergilla, it's not as common as you'd think,
right?
Considering how beautiful it is. But it is native to North America. And the white flowers are fragrant. So it's really got a few things going for it, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, when you're planning your landscape, that's what you want to plan for, right? You want to plan for things that are going to be beautiful in the spring, midsummer, and then again in the fall. And this has got the spring covered and that fall covered, because you're going to get those beautiful fragrant white blooms in the spring. And then when some of your other, maybe your perennials and some of your other flowering shrubs are starting to lose a little bit of their vigor at the end of the season, you get this bright, bright orange color at the end of the season with this bottle brush plant.
Excellent.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
I love plants that give you that fall color, that hit of fall color, that's beyond the burning bush. Everyone defaults to that red burning bush, right? But there's so many other options that really will excite your fall garden.
Yeah, and I try to...
and this is a compact, this is more compact than a lot of burning bushes are, too. It's a beautiful... if I could get my hands on one, I would, too.
Okay.
And did you say how tall and wide it got? Did I miss that?
4 to 5 feet tall and wide.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, which is good. Right.
Yeah, so it's a really great, manageable size.
And I think correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. Don't Fothergillas just correct. I was just going to ask both you and Matthew. Correct me if I'm wrong. That Fothergillas actually bloom quite early.
Yeah, they have an early spring
Okay.
Yeah,
white
this is
flower.
more early.
Yes,
spring.
yeah. So I think that's why. So sometimes they're, people don't exactly know what they are when they see them out in either in the wooded area
Right.
because they're native. Because it is kind of an early thing. So but I think it's great to extend the season in your own gardens. It's a great plant.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And the fact that it's native makes it so, so much more hardy
Right.
in your garden, so much easier to grow because we're talking about, things that are easy to grow and things that are low maintenance, and a native shrub is going to, tick those boxes every time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else do you
All
have
right.
for us?
I'm going to move all the way up to page 37. Now, this
Okay.
is not a brand new plant. We introduced this last year, but I have to talk about it all the time because I'm crazy about it. And it's a member of our double play series of spirea. And I know a lot of times people are like, spirea, what?
I know. I was going to say that.
Old-fashioned plant. This is on page 37 of the Gardening Simplified magazine. And Double Play Doozy is part of our Double Play series. Like I said, we have 9 varieties in the series. But this one, which is developed by breeder Tom Ranney, is seedless.
Okay.
So why is it so important for it to be seedless? In some areas it's invasive, yes, but we had talked about invasiveness. It's not invasive where I live, so that doesn't make as much of a difference. But the reason that it's so great with being seedless is it blooms, and then when it's done blooming, it just starts pushing blooms right back up through what would normally be a seed pod. So normally if you have a spirea, you need to shear the whole top of it off if you want it to bloom again, and that's
Right.
a lot of maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I'm busy, and to take time to go out there and shear my spirea, and I have an old-fashioned one in my backyard, I never do it.
Mm-hmm.
Double Play Doozy just keeps blooming and blooming and blooming all summer long on its own. You don't have to shear it. You don't have to deadhead it. Nothing. It just does it on its own. It's a nice compact size, only 2 to 3 feet tall and wide.
Ooh.
There's a good hardiness range. It's USDA zone 3 to 8. The foliage, when it comes out in the spring, has like burgundy maroon borders on it, so it has this gorgeous maroon flush to the edge of the foliage when it comes out in the spring, and then you get this deep red color on the flower all season long. It's a fantastic spirea, super low maintenance.
Excellent. Well, that is good because, I have to confess I'm not a spirea fan, but to have something that's new and a repeat bloomer, because you did win me over. Like I don't know if you're going to talk about the Sonic Bloom series for the Weigelias, but that totally won me over, boy.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I do kind of test them out in my own garden, and that one, I don't think it had a day where in the summer where it wasn't full bloom. So yes, I love.
And that just puts joy in your heart, doesn't it? When you look out there and you're like, oh my gosh, it's still blooming.
Yes. And like you said, the maintenance, right? Because instead of looking out and going, oh, I've got to cut that back. Instead, you look and go, oh, look, it's still blooming. I don't have to do anything, So yes, love me a repeat bloomer. So Double Play Doozy Spirea.
And that one should be a little easier to find because that's been released now for a year.
Okay.
So hopefully that would be a little easier to get your hands on at the garden center.
So may I ask, just because we're on spireas, just very quickly, thoughts on, and maybe you can tell me if it was introduced or if it's kind of fallen by the wayside, but blue kazoo spirea.
Blue kazoo is a older variety we carry.
Okay. I wasn't sure how old it was.
It's known for its like beautiful blue foliage, right?
Yeah, it kind of had that bluey, purpley hue to it as it came out.
Yeah, and that's what kind of makes it so special. Now it is the old-fashioned kind, the only one that we have that blooms, over and over again is the Double Play Doozy.
Mm-hmm.
But the Double Play Blue Kazoo, the reason it's so cool is it's really great foliage. It has this cool blue foliage, and then it has white blooms in the spring. You can shear it, and it'll rebloom with those beautiful white blooms. New growth has like little hints of burgundy. It's a good way. It's actually, Matthew, a beautiful shrub to bring up because foliage-wise, it's really quite beautiful.
Oh.
And that's what caught my eye was that bluish foliage on it, and it was really sharp.
Yeah.
And it's actually something kind of newer that or quote unquote newer that we've recently heard about up this way,
Okay.
or that I've heard about
Yeah.
about this way. So
Not familiar.
have you? No,
No,
okay, yeah.
no, not familiar.
So
I know time is flying.
15 minutes
Oh
left.
my goodness, I
I
know.
know.
Oh, we're not going to, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to get through all 20, but that's okay.
Spirea all hour. That is a beautiful plant, and it's worth bringing up. And we actually have been talking about blue a lot more because of the Pantone color of the year.
Right.
So it's not exactly the same color blue, but when you're thinking blue, it's fun to think foliage as well as flowers.
Right. So
All right, I'm going to look through my list, and I might skip over a couple that I was going to talk to so I can make sure I'm talking about the things that I really, really want people to know about. So one thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to jump right ahead to fragrance. So that's way
good.
ahead on page 72 in this magazine. So I'm skipping over a little bit, but I want to talk about our newest lilac. And lilacs are amazing, great for Canada because it's hardy all the way down to USDA Zone 2. And what's also great about this particular lilac is it's also heat tolerant up to Zone 8. So
nice.
this lilac is a Syringa hyacinthiflora. So it's one of the more highly scented lilacs. So
Okay.
if you love that classic lilac smell, this one has it in spade. It's absolutely wonderful. Purple blooms. Their lavender blooms lean more blue than pink, so it's got that classic blue lilac color, classic fragrance. It's a smaller shrub, so it's easier to manage. It's only 4 to 6 feet tall and wide. Like we said, hardy down to USDA Zone 2 up to Zone 8. It's mildew resistant, so we've bred it to have less of that, that powdery mildew on the leaves that lilacs can get sometimes. It's resistant to that. It's deer resistant. And this is just a really, really beautiful brand new lilac that's actually bred by my boss, Tim Wood.
Oh, wonderful. And what was the name of it again?
Oh, I didn't say the name. It's called Centara Pura.
Oh,
So
okay.
last year we introduced Centara Double Blue, which is also a hyacinthiflora lilac. And then this is one that's a little bit smaller, a little more heat tolerant, and it's called Centara Pura.
Pura. Excellent. Because Bloomerang has done
We
really well.
do a lot of nice things with lilac. We have, the whole Bloomerang series. So if you want lilacs, they're going to bloom, and then it takes a rest and then blooms again later in the summer. The Bloomerang series comes in the classic large dark purple plant, but it also has a couple dwarf varieties. It has a dwarf pink and a dwarf purple. So if you want that reblooming lilac, there's also that. But I just love something about the hyacinthiflora with the great big, beautiful blooms that have that gorgeous, strong lilac scent.
Wonderful. Yes, I think since fragrance is a huge thing for many people. So, and I think to have something that's an improved over the common lilac and some of the older lilacs where there's some issues, then this is wonderful.
And once again, it's nice and small. So it's not like you're trying to fit a 10, 12-foot plant into maybe your established garden, or a lot of people now have, they have houses where the house, has a smaller lot. So you have to be really choosy about what you're going to put in your yard.
Yeah.
So I think more compact varieties of classic plants are going to be what we see more and more of.
Wonderful. Yeah, I agree. And that's typically what I'm designing, and that's what I'm trying to do. Right. Not everybody has, acres.
Right. And that's the trend in the garden center, too. Everyone has less and less space, and they're trying to use it a little bit more. So, get the most out of it.
Yeah. So since we're talking about fragrance, I'm going to talk about one more fragrant plant that also was introduced last year, but we have a lot of plants on the market right now. This is one that you should be able to find at your garden center, and I think it's worth the mention, and this is our shrub rose called At Last. Have either of you heard of that one?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, my garden center has had it for the last couple of years and it's just a fantastic performer.
Yeah, this is a wonderful shrub rose. It's hard to believe when you see it that it's a shrub rose because it has these apricot, fully petaled tea rose blooms on it with a classic rose scent. So we have them planted in front of our our office, and when you walk in the summertime and you smell that row of roses, it just knocks your socks off. It smells so beautiful, but it has also everything you love about a shrub rose. So it is downy. It is black spot. The foliage is black spot resistant. It's mildew resistant. It has that nice full habit, so deep green foliage, a nice full habit. It's a compact size, 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. It's kind of a rounded shrub versus some of your shrub roses that are more of a mat. So this is a nice rounded shrub, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous shrub. Low maintenance. You get the low maintenance of a shrub rose, but the scent of a classic rose. So if you love to have roses, but you know, hybrid roses can get kind of picky and hard to take care of. They're worth the care, but if you don't have the time or the energy or frankly the know-how to do it, this is a great option.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. Again, I think fragrance, people really are drawn to that, and the amount of blooming as well.
Yeah, it just blooms and blooms, and the blooms are self-cleaning. So it finishes blooming, the petals just drop to the ground. You don't have to deadhead them, and it just keeps blooming.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's a great low-maintenance plant.
Most certainly. So just as we reach the last 5 minutes of the show,
I can't believe it.
right?
You were right. You said it would go by fast, and you were absolutely right.
Yes.
Just like a blink.
Yeah.
Did you have one or two that we have one more listener question we want to end the show with. James, we haven't forgotten about you. But was there one or two other quick plants that you wanted to throw out there?
I'm being a huge hydrangea fan. Is there something, new there?
I'm going to tell you this. I'm ready to talk about one hydrangea.
Sure.
And I'm going to give you a little teaser. We don't have new hydrangeas coming to the garden center this year.
Okay.
But watch next year. We have a pile of them.
Oh.
They're gorgeous.
Excellent.
We've got some macrophyllus. We've got a beautiful hydrangea serrata, a mountain hydrangea that is beautiful. They're saturated color, great compact sizes. We have another new deep pink hydrangea arborescens. So the hydrangea I wanted to talk about today is our hydrangea of the year, which is Invincibelle Ruby. So we have a new member of that Invincibelle series that's going to be joining the catalog. Invincibelle Ruby is a beautiful hydrangea arborescens. Now, many of you are used to an Annabelle hydrangea, which is kind of the first hydrangea arborescens. A lot of people call them smooth hydrangeas or old-fashioned hydrangeas. And those were always white. So they had the big white snowball flowers, and when it rained, all those flowers hit the ground. So what we've done with all of our hydrangeas, we don't introduce a hydrangea unless the stems are super, super strong. That is a non-starter. If they aren't strong enough to hold up the flower, we won't introduce them.
Okay.
And Invincibelle Ruby is our hydrangea of the year. It is a smooth hydrangea, but it has deep ruby red flowers. So it starts out with this ruby red flower, ages to a softer color pink with almost a silvery margin underneath each little bloom. It's an absolutely gorgeous, compact, smooth hydrangea. Smooth hydrangeas are so great because they have a wide growing range and they're super easy to grow. You can't accidentally cut all of their blooms off and not get them to bloom all season long. They're going to bloom for you no matter what. You can prune them and they're going to bloom for you. The buds can freeze. They're still going to bloom for you because they bloom on new wood. So Invincibelle Ruby, I would look for it. It's 3 to 4 feet tall, about 2 to 3 feet wide.
Okay.
And it's just a gorgeous, one of our gorgeous line of pink smooth hydrangeas.
Now, the shade because I know the thing about Annabelle is the shade tolerance of it, and that it's pink. How can it tolerate some shade?
These are, it will, just like Annabelle, it's full sun to part sun.
Okay.
So all hydrangeas want a little bit of sun. Hydrangeas are funny. They want a little bit of sun. You're going to get more flowers if they get more sun. But we've all seen a hydrangea that sits in the afternoon sun as well. But they call them hydrangea for a reason. They need a lot of water and they use a lot of water. But the nice thing about these is they are a native. so they're going to be a little less picky than your macrophyllus and your big leaf hydrangeas, and they can tolerate a little bit of shade.
Wonderful. Well, that's a great mention. So that's one thing I haven't tried in my own garden is one of them. So they're on my list, I think, for this year.
Yeah, we have a lot of great ones. I mean, there's also the Invincible Spirit too, which is our first pink hydrangea that we introduced about 10 years ago, and that's the one that donates $1 to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation for every plant that's sold, and that's been a popular variety as well.
Oh, okay, that's a great one. Excellent.
So just as we, we're going to say
no, I was going to say, poor James has been waiting with his question, Natalie.
Yeah.
So James just writes in, hello, question for Natalie. He saw you at one of your talks, and you were in a cast with crutches.
Yes, you were in a cast with crutches. So he's asking if you were okay.
Yeah.
I was in a cast with crutches. I'm wondering if he saw my coworker Jane, who is incredibly knowledgeable, and she is a landscape pro, and she's actually at a show right now, and she had foot surgery a while ago. So I'm thinking he might have seen Jane. She's doing great. She's walking around like a pro out of her cast.
Excellent.
It's kind of funny that he mentions that, because I'm actually in a hand cast right now because I broke my hand.
Oh, no. Oh, well, there you go, James. Natalie broke her hand. Oh, my goodness. Not the season to be doing that.
No, yeah.
I'll be happy to have this off by the time it's the spring comes.
For sure. Oh, my goodness. So we do want to remind everybody about the catalog. So if you want to email us at instudio101@gmail.com, or Matt has Natalie's email address.
Yeah, Natalie at springmeadownursery.com.
And
that is right.
Yeah. And as far as where our listeners could also check out, follow you on social media as well, right? They can follow the Proven Winners ColorChoice shrubs.
Yeah, we have an Instagram account. We have a Facebook account, of course, and PW ColorChoice is a great thing to just type in there and look for. We have a Twitter account, so you can follow us on a lot of social media. We are out there. And, of course, if you go to the Spring Meadow Nursery website and you scroll right down to the bottom, there's handy-dandy links right there, too, that you can just click on and find all of our social media accounts.
Perfect, because I think that's
the Spring Meadow website is springmeadownursery.com.
Excellent. Okay. Because that is a great way to get a visual, on your phone to, have those pictures right handy when you're going. Because one thing to go to a garden center and ask for something, but it helps to almost have a picture of it, right? Yeah. To say, this is what I'm looking for.
It does. And, a really neat feature, I don't want to go over my time, and I'll try to say this briefly, but a really neat feature that actually the Proven Winners website, so that's just provenwinners.com, put in this year, is they have a way for you to make almost like a vision board or a wish board. Mm-hmm. You can go in and type the plants that you're looking for, and you can put them on a Pinterest board that lives in their website, and then you just make a little account, and then you can create your own wish board in their website, so you can always go back and find your favorite plants. So check that out, too, on provenwinners.com.
Wonderful. Yes, and provenwinners.com, it has a wonderful site. It is a very useful site for designers.
They do, and you'll find all your favorite Proven Winners varieties on there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think these are some great introductions, and I can see more in the magazine, so I'm sure our listeners are going to be excited about that. And
okay.
All right. Well, we want to thank you very much for joining us on the show on Down the Garden Path.
Okay, well, stay warm this winter.
Thanks, you too, and take care of your hand.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Natalie. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's great.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and definitely get one of those catalogs. It's definitely magazines, sorry. Very inspiring. There's some beautiful shrubs in there. There's many, many more the varieties that Natalie didn't get to go over. Mm-hmm. And there's the specifics, the details that Natalie was talking about for every single one of the plant in the back, 20, 30 pages of it. So
yes.
It's just absolutely packed full of inspiration and information.
Yeah, and it's free, and it's 100 pages. So it's a nice, beautiful. So we just both have the link, but she is willing to actually mail out a hard copy. So I think that's a great thing. Or if you just want us to forward you the link, if you're kind of more of a digital person and want to have it handy,
That's right.
we can do that as well. So please email us at instudio101@gmail.com, or of course at our own sites as well. So you can always find me. My website is downtoearth.ca with the number 2, and all my links are there. And Matt?
That's right. And I'm naturalaffinitydesigns.ca. We're getting the hook. Thanks, George, Helga, James. Thanks, Gary. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of Down the Garden Path here. Oh,
No, I was going to say, we're talking about orchids next week, right? So we do a little teaser.
I don't think we have time.
No?
No.
Because Gary started the music.
That's right.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here on Reality Radio.
101.
Down the Garden Path.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to Down the Garden Path with your host, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101.